This is a very dirty Apple eMac computer. The eMacs were the last of the CRT-based computers that Apple made. I've had this project kicking around now since the summer. In fact, I started it in the summer and just haven't finished it. The first thing I started with was the keyboard because, ew. Let's see if I can put all the pieces together and finish this project. That's today on Tech Guy Life. Let's get all these keys off in the most fun way possible. Pa-ting! We have all the keys removed, and man, this is the grungiest keyboard I have ever seen. Everyone in the bath! I used a T5 screwdriver to remove the 3 external screws to allow me to lift up the internal board and expose the ton of screws that you have to remove to get at the keys. With all the keys washed, it's time to retro-bright them. I just put them in a Ziploc bag with the cream peroxide and leave them in the sun. After about 4 hours, I think the keys look pretty good. Let's bring them in. Alright, so the keys look like they turned out pretty good, so now it's time to just give them a wash. Don't forget gloves. So I'm just going to rinse them off first to get the stuff off of them, and then we'll add some soap. Alright, got them soaking in some suds now. We'll check back on them in a little bit, get them dried off, and should be done. So I've never had one of these before, and I don't even know where to start with it, really. I had to start with that keyboard, is actually where I had to start. That was disgusting. Let me grab the keyboard. It didn't turn out too bad. It's still kind of yellowed, but way better than it was. And I don't actually fear touching this, as opposed to what it was previously, where I thought I might need tetanus. Got this. Look at that. Sorry if the camera's going to be shaky today. It just shakes the whole thing. But let's see what else is in this box, because there's some cables and some other things in there. But let's get the eMac out of the way. First thing I notice is there's a sticker on it that tells me what the password is. So that's good, I guess. Hopefully it works. Let's get this out of the way. Ooh, God, it's heavy. Oh. All right, so we got some other disgusting looking cables in here. Oh, we have a mouse. Look at that roller ball. That's got like crunchies for days on it. So I think we're going to have to tear this apart and clean it. USB extension cord for the keyboard. A really old, looks like it was for the Plex Tour DVD, as according to the tape that's stuck on it. I think I know where I'm going to put this, right in the garbage. What is this? This is a 30-pin to VGA. This is a 30-pin to VGA cable for an iPod or an iPhone? Odd. A really dirty and frayed iPod cable. I know where to put that. Ugh. Okay, I know where I'm putting this too. And that. All of this. Going in the garbage. All right, I'm going to steal an idea I saw on Adrian's Digital Basement. And I'm putting this on a little turntable so I can spin it around. That's an awesome idea. This is the access port that has the memory and some other stuff in it, I think. So we have 1 stick of RAM. Let's hope it's 512. It is, it's 512. Because I think I have another 512 stick somewhere, which will give us our max of 1 gig in this machine, which will be great. So the PRAM battery is in there. That is definitely going to be dead, but I got some new ones. So let's get that out of there. Okay, multimeter on voltage DC. Let's see what was in this, if anything. And nothing. It's dead. Dead, dead, dead. So let's put the new one in. And there we go. So we got 512 megs of RAM. There's the hard drive and everything, but we'll have to take everything apart in order to get to the hard drive. I think now it's time to fire it up, see if it does anything. Power is in. Moment of truth. We're going to try turning it on. Oh, I hear the fan. So I wonder if that RAM's not seated correctly. Great, I'm going to have to turn this thing over again. Okay, reseated the RAM. I'm just going to fire it up upside down. We'll see if that works. Hey! That's booting. Of course, the frame rate is all off because it's a CRT, so it looks way worse than what it actually is. All right, so it boots. Awesome. I'll get it closed up and we'll flip it over and we'll see if we can get a better camera angle and get you some good views of the screen. And hopefully we can get rid of some of that flicker. Got it flipped over. Let's power it up. If I can find the button. There it is. No, there it is. Let's give this screen a little clean while we're at it. So I wasn't happy with shooting the Emax screen with all the flickering of the CRT. I wasn't quite sure how to make my camera match that flicker. So what I did was the Emac has an external video port on it so that you could mirror the display somewhere else. And the only way you could do that is with this cable here. It's got the Emac connector on it that goes to VGA. So then I'll just run VGA to HDMI and we'll do some video capture to take a look at that Emac. All right, so we got the Emac up and running. And the video capture, it's a little skewed, I guess. The VGA to HDMI isn't exactly doing the best conversion job, but it'll do for this purpose. It's fine. So let's take a look and see what this machine actually is. Holy smokes, hard drive slow. All right, so we got macOS 10.4.11, and it's an 800 megahertz PowerPC G4 with 512 megs of RAM. All right, a 37, so that'd be a 40 gigabyte hard drive, super tiny, and looks like it does have OS 9 and OS X currently installed, which is kind of cool. The audio is just standard audio. It has no Bluetooth, but maybe we can add a Bluetooth through the USB. I wonder if we could do that. An ATI Radeon 7500. Not sure how good that'll be for games, but does the CRT is 800 by 600, 32-bit color, which is pretty cool. And there is our 512 megs of memory with one empty slot, so hopefully we can do an upgrade. And that's about it in the machine. So this machine is still full of someone else's stuff, so we're definitely gonna wipe it out and get rid of all this stuff because we don't want someone else's things. But I would like to remember how to fire up macOS 9. How do we do that, I wonder? Oh, there we go. Start Classic when you log in. Click Start to, I guess I don't want to do that, but let's just click Start to start the Classic environment. What does it do? Is it running like a virtual machine? So it's running like an integrated virtual machine, I guess. Adobe Photoshop 3. Hey, awesome. I might have to keep this hard drive just in order to get some of these applications off of here. This is great. All right, so while we have a working machine, let's upgrade the RAM and see if that works before we go and upgrade the hard drive and destroy the whole thing. So let's shut this down and let's upgrade the RAM. All right, so we got our Emac up on the bench. Let's get our access door opened. I don't know where I got those super tall RAM sticks, but they do appear to fit. The question is, are they going to work? We'll just do a test this way first. Nope, it doesn't like them. Let's just make sure they weren't not seated correctly. Nope. Oh well. So much for the RAM upgrade. Apparently this RAM I have, which I don't know where I got it, is like ECC PC133 RAM. Looks like it's from a server because it's labeled IBM and it's got a whole bunch of extra chips and it's super tall. I didn't even think it was going to fit in there in the first place. It actually does, but it doesn't work. So we'll have to live with 512 until I can find another source for some RAM, because I looked at all my spare stuff and I have everything back to DDR. I got DDR1, DDR2, DDR3, but no regular good old SD RAM. Hold on 1 second. I recently had to go to the United States, so I took advantage and got some eBay items without international shipping, and I got this. A new set of RAM that should hopefully work in this bad boy right here. So let's get this installed. First, we'll take the old stick out and see if it was just because that other RAM was clearly not for this machine. All right, let's plug it in. See if we get beeps or a boot. We get a boot. So let's just unplug that. Let's turn it off, turn it around, see if it worked. All right, she's booting up. There's no video on the... Oh, there we go. Finally got some video on the capture. All right, there we go. She's got 1 gig of RAM. Yay. So we got this machine working with a gig of RAM, which as far as I know is its maximum. It's only got 2 slots, and I think 512 is the biggest stick that you can get, or at least that's in a reasonable price range. So I think we're just going to leave it here, and we'll save the rest of the upgrades for part 2, where we're going to install this bad boy. A nice solid state drive. I believe this one is just 128 gigabytes, so that is more than enough for this guy right here. Plus, we also have an extra 512 stick that I took out of this machine, which I can use in another project because I have an iMac sitting on the floor underneath this table right here. So I am going to use that to make that machine a lot faster too. So that's it for this video. If you like this kind of content, please like, subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification bell so that you'll get notified when part 2 comes out, where we go ahead and upgrade the hard drive in this bad boy. Plus, I'm sure it is going to be an absolute dusty mess inside there, because I don't know who used this computer, but even the speaker grills on the front are kind of yellowed. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.